Progress.
A very good morning to all of you. On behalf of the Committee on Public and Government Financial Management of Institute of Chartered Accountant of India, I welcome all the viewers to the fifth webinar on global trends in municipal accounting and way forward for India. Today's session will be delivered by CA Rupin Patel, who is founding director of Transcend Ventures, specializing in management advisory and consulting services. Before going further, I would like to give you all a brief overview of the committee's activities. As a partner in nation building, the ICAI through CPGFM is contributing to improve the accounting, financial reporting, and financial management system in all tiers of government in India, including local bodies, also known as local government. That is, at the third tier of government, the committee is involved in sensitizing officials of various tiers of government in India by various means such as organizing workshops, developing relevant e-training modules, etc. Submitting technical inputs on various documents of Government Accounting Standard Advisory Board (GASAB) in India and internationally on the documents of International Public Sector Accounting Standards (IPSAS) Board. Running certificate course on public finance and government accounting that can be attended by government officials as well. Formulating accounting standards for local bodies ASLPs and providing technical support for certificate courses for accountants of panchayat and municipal bodies. That is a joint initiative of Office of C&AG and ICAI. Our moderator for today's session is CA Anurag Tortuga, who is a fellow member of ICAI and has obtained his Chartered Accountant degree in 2014 and holds MCOM and Triple CA ICAI. With extensive experience in corporate compliances and licensing for industrial setups in Rajasthan, he practices as a chartered accountant under the firm name GRAM and Associates LLP. C. Anurag Totuka and his team offer a comprehensive range of services. Notably, he is also serving as a co-opted member on the Committee on Public and Government Financial Management of ICAI for Council year 2024 to 2025. A member of BOS at Amity University, Rajasthan, and a state executive member of the Rajasthan BJP Economic Cell. He was also a special invitee member to the Auditing and Assurance Standard Board of ICAI for 2023 and 24 and the Committee for Development of International Trade Services and WTO for the Council year 2022 to 23. Now I would like to invite CA Anurag Tortukar, sir. Now over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
On behalf of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, I would like to welcome you all to this webinar on global trends in municipal accounting and way forward for India that is being organized by the Committee on Public and Government Financial Management. This webinar is a part of our ongoing series on the theme of good governance system in government. And we are honored to have an esteemed speaker with us. I welcome our distinct speaker, CA Rupin Patel, eminent expert in accounting and auditing of urban local bodies. Today's webinar theme is municipal accounting, which has become increasingly critical as local government strive to manage public funds transparently and efficiently. Globally, municipalities are evolving their accounting practices to align with international standards and also incorporating advanced technologies to address growing demands for transparency, accountability, and sustainability. In India, municipal accounting practices are gradually evolving but still face significant challenges. By adopting international standards, leveraging technology, and enhancing transparency and accountability, Indian municipalities can improve their financial reporting. Today's webinar will throw light on the global trends in municipal accounting and will also provide a suggested roadmap for Indian municipalities to advance their accounting practices and governance framework that will ultimately lead to better service delivery and improved public trust. I once again thank you all for joining in today's webinar. I am confident that today's webinar will be valuable learning experience for all the viewers. Now I would like to introduce our eminent speaker, CA Rupin Patel. He is a chartered accountant with 18% years of experience. He is founder director of Transient Ventures, specializing in management, advisory, and consulting services. Currently engaged as a group CFO headquartered in New Jersey, having business interest in testing laboratories, pharma, sustainable packaging, information technology, and real estate. He is also on board of NJB Soft LLC, a company based on Phoenix, Arizona, specializing in business intelligence software for water, oil, and gas industries. He has extensive experience in implementing, training, and monitoring of accounting reform project in the states of Gujarat and Nagaland. He is independent director at Ishan Dyes and Chemicals Limited. He is also on board as a finance expert of Incubation Center founded and operated by Charuset University. His insights and perspectives will set the webinar for our discussions today. Over to C. Rupen Patel ji.
Okay, thank you so much, Anurag ji. Thank you for the introduction. I hope my PPT is now visible to all of you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. So let's begin. So today's topic, and I hope my audio is also I'm audible to all of you. So today's topic, we are going to discuss about global trends in municipal accounting and way forward in India. Well, see, basically, the first part I'm going to talk about the accrual system. And I think most of you, or many of you, would be familiar about this long ongoing process that India has taken on to, for transitioning the cash-based system to accrual-based system. It has been implemented with various degree of success at a lot of urban local bodies. It's a continuing process and it's evolving. My whole presentation today is to show what should be the end goal. Of course, there is nothing called an end goal. It will keep on evolving based on the demands of the public per se, as well as as the technology as well as the deliverables keep on evolving. But my goal is to first to show you a roadmap and to probably show you some really good urban local body disclosures, right, globally. What kind of benchmark that we can set for ourselves in the coming future, right? But before that, for especially for the audience, for the participants not really aware about the accrual system, I will just spend 10-15 minutes in explaining what are the benefits of the accrual system, what are the contributions of the accrual system, right? And this is we have to understand that we are transitioning, right? We have not transitioned 100% to accrual system. So basically, this is the first step towards the true reforms and the true kind of presentation and disclosure that the India would, especially the citizens would aspire and would want to see, right? So let's first look at the accrual system, and I call the next step to accrual system the accrual plus system, and you'll see why very shortly. So basically, let us first look at the balance sheets. Okay. Okay. So see, basically, what are the outcomes? What are the outputs that the accrual system would give, which the cash basis system was not giving, and what kind of information can be weaned out of the accrual system? We most of you would be familiar, but this is quite similar to what the corporate financial statements are. When an urban local body or a local body is transitioning to an accrual system, these are the 4 or 5 primary statements or primary information that you can get from the accrual system, which you don't normally get in a cash system. This in itself is worth its weight in gold. But you will see, as I said earlier, and I'll repeat that this is not the end goal. The end goal is to make the information so rich that the citizens can really understand how their local body is functioning, and they can participate to a great extent in making smart electoral choices, right? right? So first, the accrual system will give you these three basic statements, which is called the balance sheet, the income expenditure statement, and the cash flow statements. Balance sheet is something which gives on one side the total assets which are owned by the local body. On the other side, they will give the total liabilities owed by the local body, right? The difference between assets and liabilities will be the net worth, right? It could be a negative or a positive figure based on which side is heavier. I mean, is it asset heavy or a liability heavy? This was something which was missing in the cash-based accounting system, especially on the liability side. For example, unpaid electricity bills to the state-owned, electricity transmission companies. Uh, in cash-based system, you only record what is being paid. Here, you have to record all the liabilities, whether paid or unpaid. So this gives a much more correct, robust picture of what is the assets and the liabilities of the urban local bodies. While we are doing this exercise many years back in states where I've worked, uh, and this required a lot of data and documents mining. To the surprise of a lot of local bodies, they found out pieces and parcels of land which were actually owned by the local bodies, but they were not completely aware, especially the demarcation and the exact square footage, right? So this whole exercise also brings forth certain positive as well as negative surprises like that. This is an example of a positive surprise, of course, where you find that okay, this piece of land exactly this much is owned by us, right? So now, once you have the balance sheet, you know exactly what is owned by the local body and what is owed by the local body. So I will mix it up. I will not just use English. I'll try to use a little bit of Hindi as well. So basically, income then comes the income and expenditure. This is quite different from the receipt and payment. जो हम urban local body में we are used to viewing the receipts and payment. Receipt will include all receipts. यानी लोन आया वो भी रिसीट हो गया. हमारा टैक्स रेवेन्यू भी रिसीट में आता है, right? So income and expenditure in accrual system will be only revenue, income and revenue expenditure. It will not the capital expenditures and capital receipts are not included. They all go in the balance sheet, right? So this way it gives these four things: asset, liability, income and expenditure, gives a kind of holistic, segregated view of the entire local body at a given point of time and for the year, right? Then, because income and expenditure will also include accrued income, accrued expenditures, right? So basically, you need to juxtapose and see this along with the cash flow statement, जिसमें हम actually कितने पैसे रियलाइज हुए और कितने पैसे हमने कहाँ पे खर्च किए उसका एक स्नैपशॉट आता है. So between the balance sheet, income, expenditure, and the cash flow, you also have an inbuilt system to view the receipt payments, right? But the receipt payments in the cash flow are segregated into three distinct baskets. Like revenue में से कितने generate हुए और कितना खर्च हुआ, फिर कैपिटल में कितने जनरेट हुए, कितना खर्च हुआ, और हमने फाइनेंस कितना लिया और फाइनेंस कितना पे किया. So these buckets or baskets are very useful, and these three things will give you a really wonderful summary of what the urban local body is actually. Where does it stand from a finance point of view? Not only that, all these three primary statements are usually joined with something which is called the notes on accounts, and they bring to light underlying assumptions and estimates used in preparing the financial statement. For example, हम depreciation लेते हैं, right? कोई भी asset perpetually except land नहीं चलता, उसकी एक life होती है. तो ये सब notes accounts में mention किया होता है कि कौन से method, what method is being used, रिटर्न डाउन वैल्यू, यस, कितनी लाइफ हमने एस्टिमेट किया है, कितने लाइफ हमने म्युनिसिपल बिल्डिंग में एस्टिमेट किया है. इट कुड बी it could be any infrastructure project that the local body owns, right? And that is very clearly mentioned in the notes on accounts. mentioned that what are the assumptions, estimates that we have used in preparing the financial statements. और अगर कोई extraordinary event हुआ which have influenced the financial performance such as floods or pandemics, right? Then also this is mentioned specifically in the notes of accounts. It is also shown as an extraordinary item in the income and expenditure statement, but more explanatory in-depth note is shown in the um, notes to accounts. So this gives a kind of context कि ये context कौन से context में ये financial statements हमने क्या assumptions etc use किए हैं. Now the second uh, part is the financial analysis part. This is very interesting, right? यहाँ पे सिर्फ accrual base में जो financial parameters होते हैं और ratios होते हैं, revenue per citizen वगैरह, right? What is my ratio between own funds and to grant funds, own funds to liability? वो सब ratios हम ऐसे निकाल के usually urban local bodies they can work out. The citizens and the users of the financial statement can also work them out, right? And they give a vital contextual information to the reader to understand the economy efficiency, and the effective performance of the ULB. We are going to delve much deeper into financial analysis, and it will include a lot of non-financial terms also, right? So, non-financial analysis also, which is in fact going to give a 360-degree view of how their local body has been functioning. And then there is management discussion analysis. If you've read, आपने अगर कोई कंपनी का annual financial statement audited पढ़ा है, तो it will always include notes from the directors and the boards and the management discussion analysis, where they talk in depth about the local bodies, management's interpretations of various results, उनके what have they achieved, where have they fallen short, etc. Right? This is all in explanatory. So 6 things basically: balance sheet, income expenditure account, cash flow account, notes to accounts, financial analysis, and management discussion analysis. Right? Now, what does this actually do? What are the contributions of the accrual system? And the end goal, of course, remains better municipal governance or improving municipal governance or benchmarking municipal governance performance. So accrual system will enable accountability towards stakeholder, and information for the decision making वो हमेशा updated और reliable होता है compared to cash flow system, which gives you kind of a limited picture. I wouldn't use the word distorted, but a small window, and this opens up the entire financial health जो cash flow cash based system में कभी आपको पता नहीं चलता. And because of its inherent nature of how accrual is recorded, there is a foolproof transaction recording system also. So you can be assured that any transaction will fall into one of the 4 categories: asset, liability, income, and expenditure. And the basis and the context for how and why they are recorded, where they are recorded, will also be given. Correct? अच्छा, ये सब technical हुई, लेकिन how does it help the citizen? Who are the primary stakeholders, right? I mean, citizens are not the only stakeholders. The state as well as the central government are also stakeholders in a local body, right? The primary stakeholder is the citizen. So what does it give them? So it provides them a basis for addressing service level benchmarks. What do you mean by service level benchmarks? If you go to any local body in a like kind of an urban local body, they would have a charter of their performance delivery right in front of the local body's offices. They'll say that they have some certain commitments or benchmarks that they write themselves. Correct? So whether they have achieved or not, to what extent they have achieved, usme accrual base will give you a solid foundation to actually measure whether they are achieving those benchmarks or not. Right? There are certain limitations about in accrual system. We have to gather more data, more non-financial data, and layer it on the accrual based system to get a holistic view. For example, अगर आपको कोई पूछे what is the cost of providing, sorry for the typo here, providing 1 liter of water, what is the cost of clearing 1 ton of garbage? ये information can be weaned or can be taken from the accrual based system. And it also provides deeper insights into critical issues facing, deficit कितना है, liability बढ़ रही है कि कम हो रहा है, asset base बढ़ रहा है कि कम हो रहा है, whether the revenue expenditure to total expenditure is increasing or decreasing, whether how much of the revenue expenditure is being met by own funds, how much is the local body dependent on state and central government funds, etc. Right? Of course, one of the positive fallout is that the local body can make smart decisions whether to make or buy. A lot of local bodies do that, they outsource the entire transport system to somebody else because they find that the cost of maintaining their own transport system is too high. Correct. So these kind of decisions can be made based on the information that the accrual system provides. So it all leads to providing a foundation for comprehensive performance management. Right. Now, again, I'll keep on using the foundation because there is a plus to it. There is accrual plus that will talk about what the global leaders in accrual system are doing and where have they reached. And that is where we aspire to reach at some point of time. Right. So this is a graphic which will clearly explain what kind of, um, uh, as is and to be में क्या कहाँ से कहाँ हमको जाना है. So on a service delivery, you have benchmark service level indicators. On governance, you have governance indicators. Financial management, you have financial indicators. Now, my point is that this accrual system will only focus on the financial management aspect. Service delivery and governance will require a more robust data collection system, which is integrated with the financial management. So you cannot just run financial management because financial management will end up doing only financial indicators, right? For example, what is our um, you know revenue collected to revenue billed ratio? That can be that is a financial indicator. Lekin whether you have achieved certain non-financial benchmarks. For example, you have an aim of collecting X tons of garbage or processing X ton of garbage, right? Or segregating X ton of garbage in a particular year. So how much have you actually done it? So that is not available readily in the accrual based system. That has to be layered by collecting more data and integrated with the financial management system. So these are the performance areas: service, governance, finance. And you have three indicators: service level, governance, and finance indicators. Correct? Ultimately, it will all be part of a report, which will be reviewed, and then it will form, a basis for benchmarking for future years or future years. Right? What are the systems that are required? You need a policy framework. You need, of course, an accounting system, an ERP, HR management, works management, asset management, right? uh, Audit and vigilance mechanism, and grievance redressal mechanism. You have to take feedback from the citizens also. Okay. So now what else does it do? What are the other contributions? It facilitates effective utilization of scarce resources. One of the key drawbacks of a cash-based system is some of them use codes, but when the codes are used in an accrual system, it actually ring fences and limits somebody using egregiously any other codes out of the coding system. It ensures there is a discipline and it ensures there is a cross sectional uniformity code. अगर बहुत टेक्निकल लग रहा है तो मैं सिंपल लैंग्वेज में समझाऊंगा कि सपोज स्टेट लेवल पे ऐसे डिसाइड किया कि हमको लेट्स से टैक्स रेवेन्यू फ्रॉम रेसिडेंशियल प्रॉपर्टी को हमको कोड देना है 101010. आई एम जस्ट यूजिंग अ रैंडम नंबर, राइट? देन if one urban local body is using 101010, then there is a possibility, because if there is uniformity and it's a state driven reform, which it usually is, that आपके बगल की ULB will also use 101010 for uh, tax revenue from residential properties. So आप सोचिए कि once it is ring fenced or it is limited to a code, you can do a cross comparison also between urban local bodies of similar sizes within the state, and you can do a trend analysis कि यही कोड में हमको year to year कितना increase या decrease हो रहा है, and you can make the insight that it gives us is much better than a non-coded system. Correct. So and it also like capitalize कोई भी asset हुआ है या WIP में है, both of them will have a different code. So all those benefits of codifications are there in an accrual system. Okay? Then one of the bigger benefits is in budgeting. So if the same codes are carried forward while making the budget, then whenever there is a the the board of a local body or the elected members of the local body meet to decide on certain critical issues and on budgets, they can use a code as a base, and they can then project what they're going to do in the next year, what will be the budgeted estimates, what will be the actual, and a comparison code wise to code wise is a much more robust system than having two separate systems budgeting, which is not linked with your um, coding of your accrual system, right? So this will give you a much more deeper and accurate insights. And you can, and of course, the codes will automatically segregate revenue, capital, income, and expenditure. It's more scientific and realistic, and it also forms a basis for the governing body, right, to make smart decisions or even implement and layer it with zero-based budgeting, right? Then there is performance management, because there is a consistency in reporting. There is state-wise, I think I talked about this, I'll not repeat, state-wise and peer-wise comparison is possible. And all this provides a very powerful tool for policymakers at every level. Risk management actually becomes easier because the data which is now coming from accrual system under a coded accrual computerized comprehensive system, uska data integrity is much higher than what you would see in a non-codified system, right? The standards of reporting be improved. In fact, there will be an imposition of standards by using approval, and codification will remove the arbitrariness of using codes and getting insights. So now coming back to the accrual system, does the story end here? I think I briefly mentioned that the accrual system is beginning of something really radical and beautiful. We'll see a global example in that, and also look at some countries which are doing and how they are doing it, right? So is the accrual system, which is balance sheet, cash flow, and income expenditure statement, along with the three adjacent notes on accounts and other things, are they the end in itself? So I think I mentioned earlier that this will only give you financial insights, right? But if you want to, let's focus our attention to the expectation of shareholders. Now, does the public really understand, or should we expect the public to understand the data that is given in an accrual system? आप कोई नॉन कॉमर्स बंदे को, नॉन एंटरप्रेन्योर बंदे को अगर बैलेंस शीट, P&L, कैश फ्लो दे दो, तो ही and notes, explanatory notes दो, तो भी उसका understanding or grasping of things will be very limited. And it's not just about grasping, is whether that data is usable for him, whether it enables the citizen or empowers the citizen to make smart decisions, right? So I would say it does not to a great extent, not to the extent that he wants, right? Because our expectation from a local body is more on service delivery, whether they've achieved what they have promised, whatever electoral promises that they have achieved, what has been the shortfall, whether it is improving or not improving. Whether, let's say, for example, garbage collection or water connections, if it is not center driven, and all those things, what how much have they been able to achieve it, and to what extent they are lagging, so all this information is not embedded automatically in the accrual system. They have to be layered on them, right? So again, what information does the local body provide that is useful and actionable for stakeholders at large? Does the information quantify performance? Performance को कोई benchmark, जैसे हम एयरपोर्ट में जाते हैं या कहीं पे जाते हैं, तो there is this happy face and sad face in outside the targets of the airport, right? So that's data collection. So you need a very simple tool of gathering data, analyzing it, and seeing whether that is actually performance quantify करता है ऐसे, और performance gaps identify करता है. And thus accrual alone nudge the local body to make such improvements? The answer probably would be no, right? Does it address the comprehensive information needs of all stakeholders? Stakeholders is not just the public, but the state government, central government, or whoever is making decisions. It may be an external person like an Asian Development Bank, which is seeking to inject money directly into a local body, stuff like that, right? And the stakeholders will enlarge if you're going for municipal bonds and trying to raise money on your own. So accrual, of course, is a giant leap forward from cash-based system, but the journey does not end at accrual. We'll see that very shortly when we look at one of the beautifully presented annual report of a global local body. So again, let me reframe. Does the accrual system alone answer the following questions? To what extent has the service been able to meet the stated goals? हमारे जो goals है वो कहाँ तक हमने meet किया है? It could be financial, non-financial. Are the stated goals benchmark at the beginning of the year? यानी हमने वो जो goal achieve किया है, लेकिन compared to what? Compared to what was being promised. But what was promised, right? Has the promise been quantified? और अगर क्वांटिफाई किया है तो उसके साथ हमने बेंचमार्क करके whether we are lacking or not. Is there an objective system of recording all this? What are the specific areas of improvements? Does accrual system alone measure outcomes? This is a very big word. Outcome means accrual system actually does not on its own measure any outcomes. हमको ऐसे बोला कि मलेरिया इरेडिकेशन प्रोग्राम में we have spent, say, just giving you an example, say 20 lakh rupees for a small local. But you don't spend malaria eradication 20 lakh rupees is meaningless if you look at it. You can just do some cross analysis saying okay, total program expenditure इतना percentage malaria या dengue eradication में हुआ, right? लेकिन वो 20 lakhs, how effective was it? Then you have to actually go and collect data that how much was the pre-program incidence of dengue malaria and what is the post-program incidence of dengue malaria and what has been achieved. Has there been a decrease in the incidence of dengue malaria by the intervention by such expenditure? इसको आउटकम बोलते हैं, राइट? अभी अक्रूवल सिस्टम क्या करेगा, वो सिर्फ 20 लाख रुपया प्रोग्राम एक्सपेंडिचर में विच हैज अ कोड, उसमें डेंगू मलेरिया इरेडिकेशन वुड आल्सो हैव अ सब कोड, राइट, अ माइनर कोड, उसमें डाल देगा. बट उसका आउटकम नहीं मिल रहा, आउटकम हमको नहीं दिखाई देगा उसमें, राइट? एंड द सिटीजन्स को वो आउटकम, दे आर मोर इंटरेस्टेड इन आउटकम, दे आर नॉट इंटरेस्टेड इन how much has been spent, right? Suppose if you are a citizen, you are not interested. You are interested कि उसमें क्या achieve हुआ. For example, अभी street problem है, right? So suppose some municipality, I think Ahmedabad did it very recently. They start a program of what do you call it, neutering the dogs, which is a humane way of controlling the population of stray dogs, right? Of course, they must have spent some money of it. So you have to then analyze what was the event of stray dog accidents, incidents before this exercise and after this exercise. Just mentioning the amount alone will not, you will not achieve anything, right? So, second is whether your local body is efficient. Now, efficiency बहुत सारे angles से देख सकते हैं, right? Compared to last year, compared to last 5 years, compared to similar local body size local body near to you, compared to state averages, right? So ये efficiency फाइनेंशियल नॉन फाइनेंशियल सर्विस पैरामीटर गवर्नेंस पैरामीटर ये सब में आपको देखना है, सिर्फ फाइनेंशियल अक्रूवल में दे देगा, right? So that's why I have titled this slide as the journey ended accrual. So abhi I think all of you will agree with me that the journey does not end at accrual. It provides a solid foundational base of collecting all this information, combining this information with your accrual system or layering it on the accrual system, and then giving the citizens and the stakeholders something meaningful from which they can actually make smart decisions, right? So accrual is not a panacea to all our problems, but it does not mean that it is not useful. And I'm sorry if that is the impression I may be giving here, but it's an important milestone, but it is a foundational milestone. Right now, focus is to first move everything from cash-based to accrual system, and once we reach that milestone, then we have to reach the global standards, right? Or maybe even beyond that. Okay. So this is a comprehensive snapshot of the e-governance module. This has been taken from transition to accrual accounting models and learnings from ULB, which was published in January 2023. It was an ICAI ARF initiative, and it was a study done on behest of Niti Aayog. And I'm giving you with my PowerPoint. Post this session, we will give you all the links and the resources and from which all these data has been collected. Right? So if you see here, then you'll see that the municipal e-governance module is centered around core accounting module, which is financial reporting. Then there is, of course, the statutory compliance, ID, GST, PF, etc. Then there is liability accounting, asset accounting. Asset accounting, there is a fixed asset management. Liability account, you have a debt or a bond or a loan management system. Then on expenditure, you will have an HR system, a payroll and human resource management system, works management system, right? Or a program management system and pension systems if it's applicable. Revenue account will have property tax, building sanction, births, death, trade license. This is not an exhaustive list, but you get the drift, right? So this all and budgeting will have a citizens participation exercise, right? So all this entire module, right, will be used, and the analytics and insights will be used for the stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders? Internal administration, of course, central and state governments, citizens, which is society, analysts and researchers, right? General public, regulatory agencies, and financial markets. Financial markets will come when you want to get your local body rated, right? Like CRISIL, and you want to borrow money. You want to reduce the urban local bodies' dependence from state and central government funds, right? This is not a standalone module. This has to link two external systems, which is your city financial portal. India has one. Then Ministry of Urban Affairs, Public Finance Management Systems, State Treasury, Citizen Services, bank payments and gateways, right? IoTs nowadays, right? Internet of Things, handheld devices, GIS system, which is your Geographic Information System. A lot of surveys are now done based on GIS. A lot of control is also GIS based, right? Again, to give you the same example, is that a lot of hilly areas, they use GIS based information to find, to do mapping of their entire the land which is under your urban local body. You can use the GIS to benchmark service delivery performance, such as you put a GIS, you put a RFID tag to the garbage collection, so you know the route that he is taking, you know the efficiency of collection, you know the per hour collection that they are doing, to reduce or to get an insight of on the wastages if any. Then there is an e-procurement thing, and there is an audit management system, right? So this explains the entire e-governance module. So let's uh, examples. First, very briefly, let me explain why I have chosen this particular local body. It's a kind of a hobby, you'd say. I just look at some really good countries which have achieved 100% of, right? And I have been tracking their annual reports for many years, right? So they've also taken the journey from just reporting financial statement, balance sheets, uh, income expenditure, notes on accounts, cash flows, etc. And they've now moved to a level which is extraordinary, right? And I think this is not even the end of the journey. They'll keep on improving their reports. So New Zealand is one of the countries which has 100% achieved accrual-based system, and I find visually they have the most appealing annual report. If I were a citizen of this little town or little, what do you call it, administrative body in Wellington, I would be very happy as a citizen that this kind of information is being made available to me. Uh, Before we go into this, just let me share that this, I mean, it's roughly 300 pages long. So obviously, I'll not be able to cover everything, right? But I have taken some snapshots, some really good graphics, which will give an idea of what kind of data is being collected and how information rich they make it for the citizen, right? Okay, so this is an annual report of 22-23 of Wellington City Council. We know Wellington because a lot of cricket matches happen there, right? Auckland also has a very beautiful one. Some uh, New South Wales. In Australia also you have some pretty good ones. US and Canada also, some of them show real report really good annual reports, right? So it starts with something like this. This is what we saw, right? So KPIs are key performance indicators, right? So how much of key performance indicators, it's just a snapshot. We'll do a deep dive a little bit later, a couple of slides down the line, right? They just give a snapshot of how much of KPIs were met by Wellington in the last year and what was it in the previous year, right? KPIs are defined every year. They keep on adding the KPIs, not reducing them. And then they benchmark the actual performance against the KPIs. So you see that they are saying that okay, only 61% of KPIs is met, but it is better than the previous year where only 51% of KPIs were met. Right? We'll look at those KPIs very soon. Then there is a snapshot of what is the deficit or a surplus. Right? So deficit, they have a deficit of 74.2, and they had a surplus of 87.4 million surplus last year. So they now have to explain why the deficit is 77, and they have done it. Right? Then there is an outcome indicator, which are positively trending, correct, which is 38. And it is a 36% increase from last year. So which outcomes are on a improvement path is what they're showing. Here they are giving the total capital expenditure and what was the increase on a YOY basis, year on year basis. What is the workforce employed by them? What is the total debt and whether there has been an increase or decrease in debt? And total revenue collected from citizen, rates collected, all rates, whether there is an increase or decrease. There is a 9% increase is what they're saying, right? And what is the total operating expenditure? Here you will find that this is one of the reasons of the gap. Okay, and then they also collect all this information and show it in their annual report, right? So what is the city population like of Wellington? Sunshine hours. How many sunshine hours are there? And India doesn't face this problem. Most parts of India don't. What is the median age of population? What is the length of coastline? What is the proportion of population which are born overseas, right? And how much of hiking tracks are there, right? What is the percentage of Maori, which is an indigenous population in the population of Wellington, right? How many green spaces? What is the hectares of how much hectares of green space does the city have, right? How much of the population speaks more than one language? How many of them have a degree qualification or higher, right? What is the average household income? What is the wind gust average speed? How many play areas are available and how many places to eat are there? You can see this. Just imagine that if you were to do such this data collection for your ULB, okay? तो आप ये कर सकते हैं कि नहीं कर सकते? Of course, हमारा में wind gust important नहीं है, sunshine hours important नहीं है, but there are a lot of other data which you can layer and give to the citizen, right? You can find average household income, you can find open green spaces, you can find community pool usage, or community sports center usage, right? You can find key community hall usage kitna tha. So we need not copy paste, of course, from Wellington, but it indicates or it shows a direction or the kind of data that can be collected and be presented to the citizen on a year-to-year basis. Now, none of them are actually um, financial indicators, right? But they are important indicators for the citizen. So they also have a vision statement. Okay? So they have a Wellington 2040 vision, where they're saying that our vision is to have an inclusive, sustainable, and creative capital for people to live, work, and play. And they have what have done in inclusivity, what have they done in sustainability, and what have they done to increase the creativity of the people, livelihood, and what have they done for a livelihood as well as what have done for recreation. This all is included. These are primary functions of any local body, right? And they also have a priority objective for the next 3 years. They're saying that a functioning, resilient, and reliable three water infrastructure with improving harbor and water and reducing water waste and water usage and waste, right? To ensure that the city's core infrastructure is safe, resilient, and reliable. And the city has resilient and fit for purpose community, creative and cultural spaces, which includes libraries, museums, community halls where people connect, develop, and express their arts, culture, and heritage. They also are saying that we want to make Wellington an affordable, resilient, safe place to live with accessible, connect, and a compact city. And this is their ESG initiative, their sustainability initiative, that accelerating zero carbon waste free transition with communities, the city economy adapting to climate change, development of carbon infrastructure and buildings, and increased waste minimization. Correct? Then they have environmental community well-being outcomes, which is environmental sustainable climate friendly eco capital, a city where natural environment is being preserved, biodiversity is being improved, natural resources are used sustainably, and city is capable of adopting. They're giving a long term vision, is capable of adapting to climate change, right? And whether look, what is Wellington doing to bring or tap into the energy young population? You saw the average age was 34, right? To connect, collaborate, and explore identities and openly express, preserve, and enjoy arts, culture, and heritage. Right? Economic, a city should attract and develop creative talent to enterprise opportunity that will automatically create jobs through innovation and growth and work towards a sustainable future. And inclusive, livable, safe, needless to mention, resilient city where communities can learn, connected. They are well housed, safe, and healthy. Okay. Then it gives a little bit of history. Will not read the entire thing, but the history, economy, and environment, they give a snapshot, right? When was this council? When did the council meet for the first time? It goes back to 1870, right? What is our economy? How many jobs are there? Can if you focus on this number, that the local economy sustains 1.69 lakh jobs, and it is home to 27,700 businesses. Now, again, think back and reflect whether this data can be collected. Yes. Whether we can be collected right now, I don't think so. But um, over a period of time, when you have a robust data collection mechanism, these kind of information can be easily connected, right? Local economy, what is their GDP, right? And what is their GDP with exports, correct? And what big things they are doing, like there was a FIFA World Cup, etc. Then they talk about the environment. In 12 months, 1,13,000 native plants were planted by staff, volunteers, and contractors, etc., etc. Right? Flooding disruption, preserving the natural fauna, flora and fauna of Wellington. Okay. First hundreds of pages, there is no financial uh, information which is given. It's all this, right? Only last 20. Then there is an the auditor's report, management discussion and analysis, financial statements. They are only maybe 10% of the entire information set that they are giving to the local citizens. So now they also explain what is the role, what is our role, what should a citizen expect from us. Then here they are saying that the primary roles are six. One is regulator, one is providing of services, one is a funder, right? One is a partner and forming partnerships and strategic alliances with other parties of interest in the community. Facilitator, right? It could be a volunteer facilitation. It could be a facilitator for a lot of services which are citizen driven, right? And advocacy, which is promoting the interests of the community to other decision makers and influencers, right? So, I mean, every local body would have at least four out of these six functions, right? There is a regulatory function, which is by statute. There is a obvious service provider function. There is a funding, because once if there is a municipal sports complex, then you are actually the local body is acting as a funder, right? As well as you may have a PPP, public private partnership initiatives. You may have a facilitator for a lot of programs. For example, local body partners with a local Rotary or a Lions Club or a JC's club to uh, uh, push through a lot of initiatives, etc. So now and then they give the governance structure. Who's the mayor? How many councillors are there? What are the community boards? And what is a council management, divided into what functions, right? And what are the other council controlled organizations, right? They, for example, you have in the council management, you have finance, planning, digital infrastructure, customer and community. And they mentioned that, excuse me, 2000 plus staff deliver 400 services and facilities, from libraries and museums to street maintenance and landfill. And what are the organizations which are a spin-off of Wellington? So a separate body, but they report to the council and are managed. So they have a basin reserve, they have an experience center, they have a stadium, they have a cable car system, etc., etc. Wellington Water, Wellington Zoo, etc. Okay, and then it moves to, again. Let me reiterate that I have skipped a lot of pages in between. Right, you'll see a jump of pages here, but as I said, it's not possible in the limited time that we have to go through each and every aspect of it. Then they have the non finance performance parameter, where they're saying what are the community outcomes which were planned and what were the service performances that they were planned. Right? Governance, environment and infrastructure, economic development, cultural well-being, social and recreational, urban development, and transport. Observe that these are the exact functions an Indian local body would also doing, right? The only difference is they have a robust data collection system and they have a measurement system where they put it out to the public on um, uh, on an annual basis, right? So they have a suite of KPIs to track the performance across the service we deliver. Some KPIs are required by statute. This is also similar in Australia. And others are voluntary. So they go above and beyond their statutory requirement. For example, if you have a statute or an amended statute which says that the audited financial statement should be uploaded on the council website or the state website before a certain period, then they have not limited to only the financial statements. They have gone above and beyond. Certain KPIs have included in the statute, which have to be compulsorily reported, and they are also reporting voluntarily a lot of other KPIs. Right now, this is a summary of outcome performance. Right? Environment well-being. They admit that although there is still work to be done in becoming a more sustainable, indications that we are making improvements. Residents have high awareness of current state of our environment, including issues related to pollution and waste, cultural well-being, social well-being, and economic well-being. Then, what are the emerging trends? What are the highlights in the positives, and what are the challenges? Right? Also worth looking into, they have measured the greenhouse gas, right? That the greenhouse gas emission fell by 9% between 2020 and 22, right? Solar energy installations have risen 96% over the past 5 years, right? Food rescue and redirection, resulting in meals being provided to those in need and reduction in CO2 emissions. Improvement in people's ability to contribute to be part of the community and interact with them, right? And steady increase in long-term GDP per capita. Correct. What are the challenges? Uh, Few residents feel it is easy to access the city, which is attributed to network issues and fewer parking options in the city, etc., etc. All those is the challenges are mentioned, and this is how they report it. Okay. So now non-financial key. So, as I mentioned earlier, that the city, the 2,000 employees of Wellington Council, they provide around 400 services, and they have 95 KPIs to gauge their performance across those services. And instead of cluttering with a lot of non-visual, dry data, they have presented this in a, uh, graphical format where the red will indicate that how many of the KPIs are not met, and the green will indicate what has met. So 10 out of 19 satisfaction measures were met, showing the impact from delays in providing our services. 6 out of 19 timeless measures were met, showing delay experience in providing our services. A very simple example could be a stray dog or a stray cattle death, very typical in India. You make a call to the municipal council and they collect it, or they state that they will collect it in maximum 2 hours. And if it takes 1.5 hours, it becomes a positive indicator. If it takes 2 hours and 15 minutes, it's a negative indicator. Something like that, right? So, and you can do this for everything. You can do this for regularity of water supply, or breakages in water supply, non-continuity breakages in roads, then infrequency or frequency and timeliness of public transport, if there is a public transport, right? And collect this data and you say whether it is meeting the KPIs or the high standards that they have set or not, right? So, and this gives a breakdown. Do I need to zoom this? Yeah, a little bit, right? Okay. So in governance, environment, infrastructure, economic development, cultural well-being, social and recreation, urban development, transport. Again, let me reiterate, this is only one page, okay, because of the time constraint, but you will get the gist of where this is going, right? So in environment and infrastructure, I'm picking something randomly here, right? Uh, whether they were able to provide access to green open spaces and enhance biodiversity to improve the quality of natural environment. They had a total of four parameters and they have met three parameters. They could not meet one parameter, right? Whether there was a reduction of environment by minimizing and managing disposal of waste and reducing carbon footprint. There were five parameters that they had in total. They did not meet three, they have met two. Safe and sanitary removal of wastewater, security of potable and stored water, protect people, property, and environment from flooding and storm runoff, right? Protect their local flora and fauna through conservation and biodiversity. Here they're giving a total snapshot of out of 95 total, how much have they met and where they have there is a scope for improvement. Okay, then these are non-financial purposes. It goes on for pages and pages, right? And then I have jumped directly to overview of finances. So they are saying what is the cost of running the city, what was the budget deficit projected, what was the what was the actual budget deficit. This 68.1 is the projected, 74.2 is their estimated. Their credit rating, right? And capital program budget, how much have they spent, right? What is the increasing operating cost and what is the operational cost of council services per resident per day. This information can be gleaned or taken from the financial accrual systems directly, right? The other information will require a, a comprehensive state-wise data collection effort because the municipal in itself may not be able to do it. But as we see that in India also the compliance is increased. You know, all businesses have to register with the local body because you need to have a whatever compliances you need, right? So you need a local tax certificate for a business establishment. We all know that, right? So all this data is there somewhere in our system also, but we don't have a collection mechanism. But if we do, then you can measure every financial, non-financial increase in businesses, how many employees are being employed in a particular business establishment. So whether there is a growth in employment, there's a downward trend, upward trend, whatever, right? And then they show comparative of 3 years, 21, 22, and 23, right? What are the sources of council expenses? I mean, what are the council expenses? How much has been spent on contracts, services, and materials? What are other employment benefits? What is the employee expenditure? What are the finance expenditure? And what are the grants given, right? These are the total expenses. Then they have this beautiful graphs, end-to-end graphics where they show capital expenditure by strategic area. How much was spent by for governance? How much for environment and infrastructure? A pie chart, economic development, cultural well-being, council capital expenditure. Maybe they have redone their building, transport, urban development, and social and recreation. And what is their revenue? Where does the money come from? And what is the comparison here? What is the trend? 21, 22, 23, you see an increase. Operating activities, that means your birth and death certificates and the services and then the building permission that urban local body typically grants and the money that they charge for that, right? So these are exchange service, non-exchange services, revenue from non-exchange services. These are statutory, and this is where they are actually provide a service for a small fee. So you can also wean, or you can also calculate the ratio of rates to operating activities. How much have they earned from investments? How much have they earned from other revenue, right? And how much have they got from external sources, which could be loans, grants, etc. Especially revenue grants, not loans. Oh, this is also a beautiful graphic. So here they mention that in the same way that our national taxes contribute to the running of the country, council rates are important to ensure Wellington continues to function well. We set our rates in annual plan based on the needs of the community, demand for services, and affordable rates. This money helps us to deliver more than 400 day-to-day services, etc., and pays for borrowing used to fund big capital projects along Wellington, right? Okay. So here they are giving we collected total of 425 million rates during 20 to 23. And what did they achieve? This is the outcome I was talking about, right? So how much of drinkable water supplied per resident per day, right? 402. How many native plants were planted with the community? How many calls were answered by our contact center staff, right? Then community projects said organizations how much of money did they spend for funding the community projects? How much of wastewater pipe was laid? How many street lights are under operations? How many physical items were borrowed from our 14 libraries? So whether library बना दिया लेकिन use कोई नहीं कर रहा, right? So this will give you an indication of how what is whether this project was actually being used by the community or not, or not used by the community, right? So how many kilometers of stormwater pipes are there? How many kilometers of walking and biking tracks are there? How much of open space per citizen is available, right? How many resources in city archives are there? What is the length of the footpath available? How many play areas are there? How many public events took place? And how many new murals are for public? Uh, you know, and then it goes to performance, again KPI, but now this is drilling down to more granular information, right? It is showing underspending. Again, this is a hello, hello. हुआ ना change? Yes, yes. Can you see this slide? NZ performance and financial summary now.
No, sir. Sir, your slide is not changing.
Where is it stuck?
Municipal e-government module chart. Municipal e-governance module chart.
Okay, it's stuck there. So let me
Yes.
stop my screen share and share it again. Okay.
Yes.
Now what do you see? Can you see something here? Let me try again. Yeah, I shared. Can you see it now?
No, sir. No.
Okay. Can you see it now?
मैंने कब डाली?
अभी भी नहीं आ रहा है? Okay. Can you see it now? It's open. On my window, it is open. Let me do it again. Can you see it now?
No, sir.
Oh, I don't know what's happening there. Wait. Your screen share मेरे में तो आ रहा है. right? And it is just showing this background open ही है मेरा PPT.
sir.
ये करंटली शेयरिंग में भी दिखा रहा है मेरे को ये वाला. हेलो. हाँ, तो पीछे का कब नहीं आ रहा है, ये सब आ रहा था. Okay. So I'll just quickly run through whatever I said because it's meaningless the slides, right? So now can you see, right? What can you see in the overview of finances? You can see, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So and has it moved now? दूसरा
Yes.
स्लाइड बताया मैंने. आ रहा है अभी कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर बाय स्ट्रेटेजिक एरिया. ओके, तो मैं ऐसे ही बोले जा रहा था. आई एम सॉरी, apologies. So basically you can see the kind of information that is being shared by Wellington, our local example which I was giving, right? And this is a slide which I had shown earlier also. What is the capital expenditure by strategic area? How much is spent for environment, economic development, cultural well-being in a beautiful pie chart. Then what is the sources of revenue? Rates में से कितना आ रहा है, स्टैट्यूट से कितना आ रहा है, ऑपरेटिंग एक्टिविटी से कितना आ रहा है, इन्वेस्टमेंट से कितना आ रहा है वगैरह, राइट? And this was the chart where I did a lot about. Then they say if we have received 425 million, yeah, can you see my lasers also? Laser pointing कर रहा हूँ वो ना. हेलो, tech support. हेलो, can you just हाँ, so laser point कर रहा हूँ वो भी दिख रहा है, right? अभी
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
okay. So this is a chart which is showing that how much of total revenue was collected and what are the deliverables, what is the infrastructure and deliverable they have built. I'll repeat because I think it doesn't make sense without just talking. I mean, without the
Yes,
visual,
sir.
right?
Yeah.
So yeah. So they are saying that Wellington collected 425 million of rates in 20 to 23, out of which 402 liters of drinkable water was supplied per resident per year. 113,000 plants were planted. 18,659 streetlights were operated. There was 1,083 kilometers of wastewater pipes. What was the walking and biking track length? 407 kilometers. Open space per citizen. Resources in city archives. What is the kilometers of path? How many public events took place? How many play areas are there? How many murals are there? How much kilometer of stormwater pipe? And how many physical items were borrowed from our 14 libraries, right? Just let me know because I'm that if you're not able to see the slide, right? Tech support, can you see that slide? Performance and financial summary
Yes,
now.
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so अभी चल रहा है, right?
Yes,
ठीक
sir.
चल रहा है. Okay. Then these are all non-financial parameters, right? And probably India will face a little bit in gathering the non-financial, but then once on accrual system, they will not face any challenges in gathering financial data. Here also they show things very beautifully where they're showing net operating expenditure or whether it was underspent or overspent. Capital expenditure, whether it was underspent or overspent. This happens very frequently in all the urban local bodies we visit, and it's a beautiful graphic where you see certain project, but because of some bureaucratic hazards or whatnot, right? Or it could be delay caused by many things. Then that amount remains completely unspent. So this gives a single snapshot of what was available to them and where how much has been spent. I mean, Wellington, like Indian urban local bodies, also facing the same problem that they could not arrive at a decision to spend the amount allocated to them. Correct. So these are the kind of information that they provide. Correct. Again, total operating expenditure, whether they underspent or overspent. Capital expenditure, underspent, overspent. I'll take a pause here and explain that this information is possible only when your budget is linked with your financial systems on an accrual basis. Your financial system is an accrual basis, your budget is derived from the same codes, then you can easily take this information and provide this information, right? Okay. Then they also show variances. Okay, this is something which I think a lot of you would be familiar with. So here they have taken each function of the urban local body, garden, beaches, and open spaces. What was the actual expenditure for 21-22? What was budgeted for 22-23? What was actual for 22-23? What was a revised budget for 22-23? And what was a revised variance to revised budget? And wherever there is a variance, they provide a variance commentary. Correct? So you see for garden, beaches, and open spaces, wastewater reduction, and you then they this is called ring fencing. They find this is the amount that we have actually spent, and this is the revenue. It could be ticket sales or entrance sales, entrance ticket amount that you have recovered. And so my net expenditure was this much, right? Then waste reduction and energy, you have a actually a greater revenue than the expenditure. So actually the council made a profit. They are not supposed to make any surplus, but sometimes they do, right? This will help them fine tune their budgeting system, correct? Water network, they spent this much and the revenue was negligible. So this was their net expenditure. Wastewater, same thing. Stormwater, same thing. Again, this goes on for pages and pages. And if you want a detailed information on funding, it is given in page 142 or to 146 of volume 2 in financial statements, but we'll not go there. But you get the gist of what kind of information is provided. Okay. So last time I'm asking text up, this is visible right now. Hello. Hello.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Fantastic. Okay. So you can see New Zealand KPIs granular.
Yes, sir. Hello. Hello. Hello, Anurag sir. Your screen is not showing. Hello.
I am here only.
The Rupin sir screen is not showing.
Yeah. I think there is some problem in network. Is audio is right now in connecting mode only.
Yes, sir.
Please call him.
Okay.
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
Hello. I lost, right? I got disconnected.
Please continue, sir.
Yeah, I got disconnected. Am I audible
Yeah. You are audible, sir. You are audible.
now?
You need to share the screen.
Okay. So can you tell exactly when I got disconnected? Okay, I'll go back just. Okay. Sh- Can you see this now?
Not
No,
right
sir.
Hello. Can you screen
Right now,
now?
sir.
No, sir.
I shared it. Okay, let me share it. I don't know what. Yeah, it's open. It's open. Okay. Can you see it now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can what you see? Can okay. New Zealand
Sir, your voice is breaking.
KPIs granule. So I is it better now? Audible?
Yes, sir. Audible.
The screen.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So where was I? I'll just go back couple of slides and start, right? So if you look at this KPIs, it is such granular information. They have a they are saying what is the affordability of the subsidy per swim. That means per person who's attending the swimming pool, they had a target of $15 to keep the cost under $15 per citizen. And they actually spent 22.41. This could be because of an increase in usage or a decrease in number of people visiting the swimming pool. This is the kind of granular information that they are providing, right? What is the user satisfaction in pools? What was the ratepayer subsidy per swim? Now, tell you one thing: this any urban local body which has a sports complex in India, would they have this information with them? They would have the data. The data has not been converted into any meaningful information. They have done just one step. They have converted all the data that is available from various sources and converted into meaningful data, right? So you have they drill down to find the cost of ratepayer per library transaction, and they had a target for that also. For example, if you have a public library maintained by or by the local body, then what is the cost per citizen and what was their target cost? You can have that kind of data from transport also, which is managed by local bodies, right? So in India also these kind of information can be what do you call it collected. Food inspections and food registrations. What was the target? They will inspect 100% of the facilities. They could inspect only 34% of the facilities. And here in variance commentary, they write by. And target timeframes also they are given that if it's a new business, 6 weeks after registration, and existing business, they would do 3 months in 3 years or something like that, right? And against which they measure actually how much have they been able to achieve. Dog control,
ये ब्रेक हो रही है
right?
बीच में, इंटरनेट वर्क सही नहीं है। वीडियो बंद कर दे, विदाउट वीडियो कंटिन्यू करें।
ब्रेक हो रहा है आवाज? हेलो हेलो tech support? Hello, is I'm audible, right? Okay, okay. Then hygiene standards of toilet and so on and so on. You get the idea, right? This is the attendance. Pre-election, what elected members, how much of meetings did they attend? Post-election, how much of meetings did they attend? What is their attendance? Then you have a very granular detail about staff. They have classified staff by functions. They have classified it by age. They have classified it by permanent, casual, and they also are classifying it by staff attrition, right? And gender wise, male, female, etc. They have given this kind of information. They also report on workplace injury incidents. How much of workplace incident were recorded, right? So, I mean, this may not necessarily be a function of the municipality. It may be a state department which is doing it. But let's assume Wellington has this function at a municipal level, at a council level. So they're able to collect the difference and show the differences, right? So my whole point is that these, if you look at, I mean, again, this is only a fraction of what the reporting of New Zealand, what reporting Wellington does, Auckland does, a lot of other counties and councils do, right? But my point is that look at the richness of the information they are providing. Look at the granular details they are providing. They are going way, way, way beyond what we think as accrual. Balance sheet, P&L, or income and expenditure. In our case, cash flow statement, notes and accounts, right? And these are the actual, uh, quantifiable parameters based on which a citizen can actually make a very informed decision of whether they want to re-elect or they don't want to re-elect these council members again or not. So, sorry. Okay. Now, this is, I mean, I can give you a lot of other examples which are equally good, but as I said, I found this Wellington to be very visually appealing, so I gave this example. Now, what is happening globally? We also need to know that 30% of governments in 165 jurisdictions covered have moved to accrual, while 40% are making the transition as per International Public Sector Financial Accountability Index. I think this index was of 2021. So there might be some update by 2024, right? Australia has achieved all accrual at all levels of government. In Australia, reform benefits include ability to understand true cost of operators. They make more informed decisions. And Australia produces consolidated local government finance statements for state and also gives individual financial statements of various governments under state. I have given open this link and find out the kind of annual reports which Australia produces. Now, this is very unique, So it gives consolidated statements at a state level and individual financial statements of various local bodies or councils under the state. So you can move up the ladder and have a state-wise view, or you can drill down and find a council level or department or a subsidiary level in corporate parlance, if we say subsidiary level information also. Correct. Canada, they have a system called Financial Information Return. It is in a pre-formatted MS Excel that is available to the public, and they have adopted accrual at both national and local levels. Right. So this is the kind of one snapshot which I could take from New South Wales, Australia. How many people are employed by them? How many communities and public centers are maintained by them? This is meta level. This is the whole New South Wales. It is not just one municipality. It is a
Hello, sir.
what is the
Your voice
value
is
of the
again breaking.
tonnage of waste that they have recycled are there. How many people attend those libraries, right? How many curbside waste collection centers? Waste hello again. Oh boy, it should be okay. Is it okay now? Hello, is it okay now? Can I just switch off my video because let's see. Is it better now? Not good. Hello. Hello. Is it better now? Yeah, but is my audio better now? Okay. Okay, so this is New South Wales, which has 128 councils. So as I explained earlier, that Australia, what it does not collect. It collects the data at a local body level, and they are all collated to a basically a state. I mean, they have a different concept. They have New South Wales and different kind of geographies, and they give metadata also. They give the bigger data also, right? So this is what New Zealand does different. Australia does differently. Germany actually they started this process of accrual when 2 decades ago they had a fiscal crisis of sorts, and the focus was to get right information through financial accounting, increase the transparency, and adopt strategy-oriented decision making. Right? They, like New Zealand, have performance-related targets. Performance objectives are laid down. Indicators are laid down, and some of them, again, like New Zealand, are mandatory, and some they voluntarily collect. Right. So, despite a lot of effort that have gone into region-specific and locally sensitive reforms, Germany is yet to achieve accrual across the country. Correct. South Africa, um, it's a leader in reforms. Like New Zealand, they set precedents in various ways. They were the first to bring legislative changes. One of the first to bring legislative changes. US being one of them. Other one. accounting and audit reforms, and technology and transparency enablers, right? I sometimes Google and find go to South Africa. That's also very information rich. It's not very graphically appealing as New Zealand, perhaps, but the quantity or quality of information is also stupendous, right? They use infographics. They clearly establish audit outcomes, irregularities. They specify risk areas, wasteful expenditures, health indicators, and controls, right? This is just one of the snapshots, right? There in 2019-20, out of 257 outcomes, 27 had no unqualified, 96 were qualified with unqualified with findings, 80 were qualified with findings, 7 were adverse, 22 were disclaimed, and 25 they could not audit. This is how they show their entire uh, uh, audit exercise, right? So they focus on outcomes, right? Which I mentioned at the beginning of my presentation, that outcomes is what you have to achieve. Unfortunately, accrual alone does not give you any outcome. It will just state a fact that this much has been spent. But how effectively it has been spent, that can only be done when the outcome is linked with the accrual system or layered on the accrual system, right? In South Africa, Institute of South Africa Municipal Accounting Office plays a very key role in supporting quality of municipal management through various interventions, from prescribing qualifications and training requirements to municipal staff, research and inputs for policy and processes. The observations made in audit report to municipals are very candid in Africa. I saw that, and it specifies very clearly what is the nature of default. They are not generic. I mean, I find our corporate audit reports to be more generic. This is very specific कि ये नहीं हुआ है. This is wrong. This is where there is a major quantifiable shortfall. UK is another country which introduced accrual basis for whole government accounts, and it experienced beyond accrual accounting. A focus is on resource accounting, accountability, and outcomes. Right? USA it had their own accounting standard board in 1973, and similar to corporate accounting, they had account standard number 34, which was basic financial statements and management discussion analysis for state and local government. Proposed a disclosure format for financial statement like those of business companies. Now, this basic financial statement and MDA was pre-designed. It is codified into a standard. So this is the minimum discussion and analysis report that they have to follow. So USA typically, also we see in standards also, they are very rule based. So once they have been codified, they have to follow that particular structure. It has its advantages and disadvantages. The advantage is that this becomes a minimum reporting criteria that everybody needs to follow. The disadvantage is it is rule based, so you cannot, nobody is incentivized, so to speak, to report beyond what is stated in the standard, right? So USA is again one of the few countries where accrual accounting has been implemented across various level of governments. Let's see what kind of data they collect. Okay, I'll just show you one. Can you see my screen? Hello, am I audible? Can you see my screen? Okay, the census one, right? Okay, so this is the kind of quality of data that they select. Okay, if you go to American census website, again a link I've provided, census.gov, and you select a fact. Okay, if you there's population estimates, there's age and sex wise segregation, race wise segregation, veterans, foreign born persons, housing, family and living arrangements, computer and internet use, graduates, people with disability, without disability, economy, like people in labor force above 16 years of age, total retail sales, anything you can drill down, right? So you drill down and you find it for a particular county, town. All you need to do is you have to use this box to enter the state, county, city, or a zip code, which we call the pin code, and you have the data. Just imagine the kind of information they have, right? And you can cross section or use this information for layering the accrual based data and coming out with innovative ratios or innovative information for your county, right? And just imagine they have the mean travel time to work minutes also, correct? So this is the mean travel time to work in minutes. Workers age 16 between 2018 and 22. Correct. If I drill down where is it? I mean, I'm not going too much into it, but you get the idea, right? All this information is available on GOV. So now, what are the lessons for India? So basically now, if let's assume in the next 4 to 5 years we achieve 100% accrual based system, where do we go from there? Does the story end there? Do we have to prepare it just like any corporate prepares, or a small corporate prepares, just the balance sheet and minimum requirements, or should we move towards outcome driven reforms? I think my uh, what do you call it, a session of an hour uh, with some unfortunate internet breaks, because of some quality issues. I apologize for that, but would have made absolutely clear that the end game is not accrual based accounting, but it is to move or use that accrual based accounting for outcome driven data. And you can have reforms which are based not on your values, right, which are there in your financial statement, but based on outcomes, right? So this is what we need to do. One is to go from input driven information and input driven decision making to output driven information and output driven benchmarking and reforms, right? So New Zealand was a good example, right? So to understand comprehensive flow of funds in a ULB from different sources, such as grants, borrowing, own funds, how much was spent, where it was spent, how effective was the spending, what did it cost per liter? Suppose you're building a tank, a water tank, a water retaining structure. So, what was the capital cost per citizen who are using that particular tank? That also can be taken from that information. At what rate they are using that water, right? Is there an increasing? What is happening to the wastewater? How much of the wastewater is being recouped? Like in cities like Chennai, they have compulsory, they have to reuse all the wastewater into their sanitary systems, etc., etc., right? So right now you have to move from this input or value or figures based information to outcome based information and make smart decisions. Then what is happening is data driven reforms is basically you have to go beyond traditional implementation milestones. Like right now we have targets. Whenever we were doing, like decades back, uh, when we were doing this uh, transition from cash to accrual, the targets that we were given were very simple. Has the opening balance sheet been prepared? Has everything been recorded? How many ULBs are converted to accrual? We are at this stage. India as a whole is at this stage. But at some point of time, we need to move beyond this stage and go towards the outcome based system, right? What is the average revenue earnings? We can do cross ULB comparison. cost per liter of water provided, revenue per citizen, how much of revenue is collected per square feet in a residential area, per square feet in a commercial area, correct? And league tables like benchmarking of service delivery, right? UK collects all this benchmark information. It designs it on their own. US did collect some information from the market forces as well, right? You have to not have a platform which is non-integratable. I mean, you will observe that in many local bodies you have a citizens app, you have an e-gov platform, you have a financial platform, but as long as they don't speak to each other or they are not tightly integrated, there'll always be a problem, because again, data collection will be ineffective. You will not be able to what do you call it get rich outcome based information if these standalone systems are not integrated, you know. You may have a financial management system or an account management system, but it's not integrated with your budgetary system. Then also there are chances of human and non-human errors, and you have to put a lot of effort. It will not give you a 360-degree view, correct? It should be stakeholder sensitive, right? Not just imposed top down. That means reforms which the government is introducing, the reform should be demand side. If you start giving this information to the public, they will start demanding answers, and they will say नहीं ये तो आप कलेक्ट कर रहे हो, इस ये भी कलेक्ट करो इन्फॉर्मेशन, हमको जरूरी है, और मुझे यार आप बताओ इसमें इंक्रीज हो रहा है कि नहीं हो रहा है, राइट? पार्क एंड रिक्रिएशन में यूटिलिटी कितना हो रहा है, आपने बना दिया लेकिन कोई जाता नहीं है, या फिर बहुत ज्यादा लोग जाते हैं तो आपने कम बनाया है, वगैरह, यू नो. Then the major problem that uh, lot of urban local bodies face is capability. Now, a lot of governments I have seen, they have good intentions, they have the right intentions, but they somehow miss the training and capability building step. Correct? I see that the government is very proactively doing this, going in the right direction, a lot of discourses. Uh, Even this being one of them, right? But a lot needs to be done. I'll just give you one example. I think this is New South Wales, if I'm not mistaken. It is New South Wales. Look at the capability framework that I have. So they're saying that this is a framework which sets out core capabilities expected of all elected members and local governments, right? What is expected from them? And I'll just skip to the main part, right? This is their capability. What personal attributes should a ULB elected member have and a staff have? What kind of relationship? What is the result? What are the resources? What is the leadership? And they have segregated into core capabilities, 4 capabilities for people managers, and 4 capabilities for elected members, right? So each level they have described that it goes from foundational, intermediate, adapt, advanced, and highly advanced, right? So this is where the training comes in. You may have foundational manpower, but you gradually move them to intermediate, adapt, advanced, and highly advanced, right? So what does a foundational manager do? He checks understanding of his own role within the team, proactively seeks instructions as a minimum that is required. You move that to advanced, which is it demonstrates motivation to serve the community and organization, initiates team activity on their own, right? Seeks and accepts challenging assignments, and highly advanced is models initiatives, applies and shares knowledge gained through experience and exposure to experts, etc. Correct. So these are the kind of initiatives uh, that we see that are taken. These are the kind of effort that are taken in training in some advanced countries also, right? Then communication intents. You have to sensitize various stakeholders on both processes, benefits, and outcomes. Engage local communities through clubs like Rotary and JCs, collect data, collate data, document them. Then there is transparency, right? So the aim of any reform process in the public domain is to bring accountability and transparency. I would rather put it as accountability via transparency, right? And I'll just skip because we are running out of time. Then there should be sustainability embedded reforms, environmental, social, and governance considerations, climate change, data collection. We saw in New Zealand that they were actually measuring greenhouse gas per council and whether the greenhouse gas has increased or decreased over a 4 or 5 year period, because ultimately environment is going to impact every citizen, so that data collection is also uh, important. And last is sustainable reforms. That what are the problems is the problems today we are facing is lack of policy support, there is poor documentation, lack of training, lack of continued leadership, lack of long term perspective, etc. Correct. So with this I end my session. I acknowledge uh, Niti Aayog and ICI for providing me a base, as I mentioned earlier, that transition to accrual accounting, models and learning for ULBs, which was an ICAI ARF initiative, which was a study done for Niti Aayog, and the publication was published. It was published in January 2023. It's very rich in this information. Lot of information has come from there. I also thank Wellington Annual Report, which is publicly available, and I have provided the link here too. Right. So if you have any questions, we can now use the chat box, right?
Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable insights. We will now open the floor for a question answer sessions. Please feel free to type your questions in the chat box, and I will direct them to our speaker. Sir, one of the question is, local bodies are synonymous to corruption hub as transparency.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this it'll get too political, right? But what I can say is that compared to what of transparencies were available a decade ago, we cannot compare. You cannot do a direct comparison with New Zealand or US or other developed countries, right? So you have to do a comparison with what it was 10 years, 15 years ago. I mean, again, I will not say anything about corruption, but then one of the one of the solutions to corruption is giving this information. Now, for me, if I were to do something about it, it begins with statute. So you make some legislative amendments, right? You incorporate the minimum information that is required, like what South Africa has done, like what US has done, like what UK has done, Australia and New Zealand have done, right? तो आप ऐसा ऐसा इतना इन्फॉर्मेशन तो आपको देना ही है. हम क्यों आरटीआई पे रिलाय होते हैं इन्फॉर्मेशन लेने के लिए, राइट? एनुअल स्टेटमेंट्स शुड हैव दिस मच ऑफ इन्फॉर्मेशन, इट शुड गिव दिस मच ऑफ इन्फॉर्मेशन. और बहुत सारी चीज में यू विल फाइंड, because you are able to do cross comparisons, you are able to do trend analysis, you are able to benchmark with other local bodies, right? You will find that it will be very difficult for them to write the information if there is a lot of corruption, in the system. Because बिटुमेन का प्राइस ग्लोबली या फिर इंडिया में सेम है, तो किलोमीटर एक स्ट्रीट ले करने का कॉस्ट ऑलमोस्ट सिमिलर आना चाहिए, करेक्ट? वो नहीं आ रहा है, तो वो आपको ये इंफॉर्मेशन से ही पता चलेगा, राइट? स्टील पाइप का जो गेज है वो भी सेम है सब जगह पे, वाटर इतने गेज का आपको पाइप लगाना है, तो पर किलोमीटर उसका भी एक पैरामीटर बनता है, करेक्ट? तो ये सब चीज आप क्रॉस कंपैरिजन कब करोगे और करप्शन कब एड्रेस करोगे? जब ये इंफॉर्मेशन आएगा. So instead of saying कि what it is right now, I know what it is right now, everybody does. So let's at least bring some reform and transparency into the system. Accrual is bringing some. We have to bring a lot more. Outcome based कर दिया तो बहुत सारी चीज आपको ये information मिलेगा. It's a fair question actually, but you know how it is, right?
And so one more question is there. When do you think we will move to complete accrual-based accounting? Will accrual-based accounting with outcome-driven scenario containing better presentation of financials in line with international standards of best presented books with requisite analytics for user to assess performance.
Again, a very good question. Let me answer this, okay? So इसमें जो न्यूजीलैंड का मैंने एग्जांपल दिया उसमें कौन सी इन्फॉर्मेशन कौन सा डेटा पॉइंट है जो हमको नहीं मिलेगा. अवर रिक्वायरमेंट में भी डिफरेंट, हमारा कोस्ट लाइन नहीं है आपके पास, तो कोस्ट लाइन का इन्फॉर्मेशन नहीं चाहिए. तो बाकी सब स्पोर्ट्स कॉम्प्लेक्स बनाया है तो उसका यूजर बेस है, मेंबर्स है, यूटिलिटी का रेट. आप जाते हो तो साइन करना पड़ता है कि मैं स्विमिंग पूल यूज कर रहा हूँ, जिम यूज कर रहा हूँ वगैरह, राइट. तो वो इन्फॉर्मेशन तो है सिस्टम में, वो इन्फॉर्मेशन कलेक्ट नहीं कर रहे हैं, राइट. अगर वो कलेक्ट कम्युनिटी हॉल्स है तो कम्युनिटीज में कितने वेडिंग्स हुए, कितने 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 इवेंट्स हुए, कितने इवेंट्स were for public, how many times was it given for the private citizen, because we use the community halls for marriages also, right. So उसमें कितने attendees, ये सब information नहीं है क्या, ये है, right. उसमें खर्चा कितना होता है, इनकम कितना होता है, ये भी है. ये हम दिखाते नहीं है और कलेक्ट नहीं करते. सो ये सब चीज हमको सिर्फ जोड़ना है, ये कलेक्ट करना है और लाना है, right. लेकिन again your answer is, when this do you think will move to complete accrual base? We have to first move, we have not completed the first step in toto, right. We have to first move completely from cash base to accrual base. It will not stop there. Then the state also has to present its finances on accrual, and at national level also it has to be accrual. Now I don't know when this this will happen. But if urban local bodies and the state do it, which is far more easier to do, right? Through legislative action, if they do it, it can happen in the next 5 years also. Correct? चलो ये न्यूजीलैंड का बहुत बढ़िया है, बहुत अच्छा है, फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड कंट्री है, पैसे बहुत है, नहीं वो डेफिसिट में चल रहा है. करेक्ट. ये लोग दैट डिड नॉट स्टॉप देयर रिफॉर्म्स. उनका डेफिसिट देखा कितना है, इट्स बलूनिंग. लॉट ऑफ वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज हैव दिस बलूनिंग डेफिसिट. दैट डिड नॉट स्टॉप देयर रिफॉर्म्स. करेक्ट. हमारे में तो ट्रेंड अगर देखोगे तो 10-15 साल में तो मनी दैट हैज गॉन टू अर्बन लोकल बॉडीज हैव इंक्रीज, नॉट डिक्रीज. करेक्ट. एंड दिस इज नॉट अ ह्यूज बजट रिक्वायरमेंट. इसमें ICI, there will be a lot of citizen involvement who are more than willing to do all this data collection. Because of the leaps that we have made in technology, data collection can also, through IoT, through blockchain, right. Data collection can also be done at a pretty low cost. I'm not saying zero cost, but at a pretty low cost. Intent, legislative reforms, right. This is what needs to, it's there, but it needs to move forward, right. How far is education and technical skill and internet accessibility relevant in implementing modern accountant? Oh, it's unavoidable. I'm really sorry to say that it's unavoidable. If you are going to have a completely integrated e-governance system, citizens app system, and you have, I mean, citizens app is also a beautiful way to collect data, right? Feedback. एयरपोर्ट आई कीप गिविंग दिस एग्जांपल. एयरपोर्ट में कितना सिंपल डेटा कलेक्शन वो लोग ने कर दिया. टॉयलेट के बाहर, आई थिंक दिल्ली एयरपोर्ट में ही है, यू हैव दिस स्माइली व्हिच इज अ ग्रीन स्माइली एंड अ रेड ऑरेंज फेस एंड अ रेड फेस स्माइली. आपको बाहर निकलते सिर्फ एक को हिट करना है. इफ यू फाइंड द टॉयलेट्स टू बी अल्ट्रा क्लीन, यू डू ग्रीन. इफ यू फाइंड इट ओके, यू डू ऑरेंज. इफ यू डोंट फाइंड इट ओके, यू डू द रेड वन. ये डेटा कहीं तो जाता होगा ना. तो कितना सिंपल डेटा कलेक्शन. तो सिटीजन ऐप में भी इतनी सिंपल चीज आप डाल सकते हो कि आपने फोन किया कि देयर इज अ डेड केटल आउटसाइड माय सोसाइटी, राइट, सो कम एंड कलेक्ट. तो वो कितने टाइम में आया, वो GIS से रिकॉर्ड होता है. आप उसका फीडबैक क्वालिटी वगैरह वगैरह का दे सकते हो जस्ट बाय प्रेसिंग बटन ऑफ येस नो वेदर यू आर हैप्पी विद द सर्विसेज और नॉट. जैसे अभी बहुत सारी चीज में हमको आता है, राइट, कस्टमर फीडबैक. कार सर्विस देने जाते हैं तो क्वेश्चन आता है, तो ऐसी क्वेश्चनर शुड बी मेड कि नहीं आपको सर ये करना ही है. तो लाइक एटलीस्ट 30% सिटीजन भी वो करेंगे तो यू कलेक्ट अ लॉट ऑफ डेटा. नाउ दिस इज द टेक्नोलॉजी. आई मीन टेक्नोलॉजी के अलावा इंडिया जैसी बड़ी पॉपुलेशन वाली कंट्री में ये करना मुमकिन नहीं था. But I am optimistic because now so many tools are available. Everybody is a smartphone user, right? So many tools are available to actually go and implement and start collecting this data, right? Whether it will happen nationwide is very difficult because we end of the day, we every state, if you look at the ICI ARF study, right, which was for Niti Aayog, they have followed their own different footprint. I mean, it's because of who we are. It's the nature of our federated system, where you have a federal system where states have certain powers. तो इंडिया लेवल की क्या बोलते हैं उसको यूनिफॉर्मिटी शायद ना है, लेकिन वो भी अच्छा है. इफ यू लुक एट इट पॉजिटिवली, देन व्हाट आई कैन से इज दैट नहीं आएगा, देन यू विल ऑलवेज हैव सम लीडर्स. फॉर एग्जांपल, hypothetically, let's say a small state like Goa outperforms and gets this data beautifully done, then it can be a template for a state like Gujarat or Maharashtra or somebody else, कि ये लोग सबसे बेस्ट कर रहे हैं, तो लेट्स लर्न फ्रॉम द बेस्ट. इसमें तो कोई ना नहीं बोलेगा एंड ऑफ द डे, right? So again, so that I think, hope that answers your question. Again, apologies for the tech. I mean, my internet here is normally very stable, but I
No
don't know
problem,
what
sir.
happened today.
No
One
problem.
of those
No
days,
problem.
right? Yeah.
Tech support, is there any other questions? Okay. Thank you to our speaker for his informative and thought-provoking contributions, and thank you to our participants for your active engagement. This concludes our webinar on global trend in municipal accounting and way forward for India. We hope you found it insightful and beneficial. Don't forget to claim 2 unstructured CPRs. Have a great day ahead. Thank you. Signing off. See you and Anurag. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so
Let's
much.
end the webinar, sir. Yes, sir. Let's end the webinar now.